I'm Leonard Booker. I'm 67 years old. I'm serving a 50-year sentence for aggravated assault, and I've been in prison since 2003. My biggest regret isn't the crime. It's the philosophy that led me here. I had 5 rules for handling disrespect, and I followed them right into a cell. Let me tell you what happened. You see, to understand how I got here, you have to understand the man I was before the steel door closed. I was from Gary, Indiana, Glen Park. I worked the furnace at the steel mill for 20 years. I was raised in a tough neighborhood, taught to stand my ground, and I was good at it. I thought I was protecting something. I was wrong. It started on a Tuesday in August 2003. I was at Murphy's Tavern in Glen Park with my younger brother, Ray. I'd just finished a double at the mill, and the air everywhere still smelled like slag, like something burnt and spent. Ray was venting about his boss. We were just 2 Booker brothers trying to blow off steam. I was tired. I was weary. And you know what? That's when the night and the next 22 years of my life shifted on its axis. A man walked past my stool. His name was Eddie Walsh. We'd had words over a parking spot months before. Nothing serious. He bumped my stool hard. He didn't apologize. He just smirked at his friend. My rule back then was simple. Rule number 1, address it immediately. So I stood up. I said, "You got a problem?" It escalated fast. Shouting, chests out, the whole stupid dance. The bartender told us to take it outside. I felt righteous. I felt justified. We did, and in that parking lot, I made my first catastrophic mistake. It was a short, brutal fight on the asphalt. No weapons, just fists and all that rage I carried from the mill, from my failing marriage, from everything. I broke his nose. I remember the sound, the feel of it under my knuckles. I walked away feeling like a king. I'd defended my respect. I'd won. That feeling was a lie, but it was a powerful one. That was my first charge. I thought it was over, but in my world, one victory just invited the next challenge. 2 weeks later, I'm at a gas station. Eddie's cousin, a big kid named Marcus, sees me. He makes a show of holding his nose, laughing. Rule number 2, never let a challenge stand. I walked over. I didn't hit him. I got in his face. I told him, in very specific terms, what would happen to him and his cousin if I ever saw them again. I saw the fear in his eyes. That fear, it was like a drug. It felt like power. I was consumed by it. That threat became my second charge. I was out on bail, but I was already in a cage of my own making. A month after the bar fight, I'm driving home. I see Eddie's car outside a diner. Rule number 3, show them you have a long memory. I didn't need to do anything. I could have driven home to my empty house. My wife had left by then. The kids were with her. But I didn't. I pulled in. I felt compelled. I told myself I was just going to talk, to remind him. But when you're holding a match, everything looks like kindling. I walked up to his car. He was sitting in the driver's seat. I tapped on the window. When he rolled it down, the fear was there again, just like with Marcus. It was intoxicating. I leaned in, my voice low, listing his offenses. I was the judge and the jury. I felt dominant. Then he panicked. He shoved the door open into me. And that's when I lost it. The red haze came down. I had a tire iron in my hand from changing a flat earlier. I didn't plan to use it, but I used it. The rest is a police report. Aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Repeat offender. In the courtroom, my ex-wife wouldn't look at me. My kids were shadows in the gallery. The judge said 50 years. But the loudest sound in that room was my youngest brother, Ray, crying. He'd been with me at the bar. He'd watched my philosophy in action, and I saw him starting to mimic it before I got locked up. His grief was for both of us. I was shattered. Then came the intake processing, the steel door closing, the first of what would be 18,250 nights. That's when the real sentence began. They moved me to a new cell block last week. A kid half my age, all swagger and empty eyes, tried to take my commissary. A bag of coffee, some crackers. The old Leonard Booker, the furnace operator from Glen Park, would have erupted. But I'm 67 now. I've served 22 years. I looked at him. I didn't say a word. I just handed it over. And that's when I knew I had to say this. Because that silence, that simple act of handing it over, was the hardest and most powerful thing I've ever done. It was the opposite of every rule I ever lived by. It was the opposite of every rule I ever lived by. And it felt like freedom. A small, quiet freedom, but real. That kid took my coffee and walked away like he'd won something. But I was the one who walked back to my bunk and felt clean. For the first time in maybe my whole life, I hadn't fed the beast. I'd starved it. And you know what? It didn't kill me. My pride took a hit, sure, but I was still here. I still had my bunk, my thoughts, my peace. That's when I understood what I'd been missing all along. I understand now. Every one of my old rules was a trap. I thought I was defending my dignity, but I was just feeding a beast inside me that confused anger for strength. Dignity is quiet. It's internal. It's the thing you carry with you that no one can touch unless you hand it over. I handed mine over again and again to every Eddie Walsh, to every smirk and bump and challenge. I traded my freedom, my family, for the loud, brittle illusion of respect. Real respect doesn't need to be enforced with fists. It just is. And I had none for myself. That was the real problem. So let me give you the 5 ways I handle disrespect now. Not from a position of strength, but from a lifetime of weakness. From a man who learned every lesson the hardest way possible. First, let the first one go. It's free. It costs you nothing. Someone bumps you, mutters something, gives you a look. That's their problem, not yours. Swallow it. I used to think swallowing it made you weak. I was wrong. Swallowing it is an act of strength. It's saying, this isn't worth my energy. This isn't worth my freedom. That bump from Eddie at the bar, that was free. I could have let it go. I could have taken a sip of my beer, turned back to my brother Ray, and kept talking. My night would have ended at home. My life would have stayed my own. But I didn't. I stood up. And that first move, that decision to engage, was the first link in the chain that anchors me here. Second, define your territory. If it's persistent, if it's about your family, your home, your job, then you speak. Once, calmly, clearly. Don't speak about my kids. That's my wife you're talking about. Then you stop. You don't explain. You don't negotiate. You state the boundary. That's it. I never did that. I had no boundaries, just a hair trigger. Everything was a threat to everything. So when Marcus laughed at the gas station, it wasn't about a joke. It was about my whole crumbling world. I couldn't separate it. If I could have, I might have just looked at him and said, "That's enough," and walked away. But I couldn't. I had to own all the space around me, all the air in the room. You can't. It'll break you. Third, walk to the door. Your exit is your power. Leaving isn't losing, it's choosing a better battlefield, which is often no battlefield at all. That diner parking lot. I saw his car. I had the wheel in my hands. I could have turned left, gone home. The door was right there. But my rules said walking away was defeat, so I pulled in. I walked toward him. I chose the battlefield, and I lost the war. Every time. Walking away is the strongest move you can make. It means you decide what's worth your time, and almost none of it is. Fourth, talk to a wall. The anger needs out. It's a real thing, a pressure. So tell it to your shower wall, your journal, the steering wheel in an empty parking lot. Scream it out where only you can hear. I never did that. I let it out on people. I took all the heat from the furnace, all the frustration from my marriage falling apart, all the fear of being nothing. I took it and I handed it to Eddie Walsh. He didn't want it. He had his own bag of anger. We just traded bags and then blew them up. Get it out alone. Let it be ugly and loud and private. Then wash your face. Go home. Fifth, invest in what matters. Every second I spent planning or executing a response, I stole from my kids, from my own peace. Pour that energy into something that builds, not destroys. I could have been helping Ray with his job trouble. I could have been calling my daughters. I could have been fixing the porch step. Instead, I was nursing grudges, replaying slights, driving past diners. I invested in a war, and I got a life sentence. The returns are terrible. Invest in what loves you back. Invest in what loves you back. But I didn't. I invested in a war, and the returns are terrible. You know what the interest is on that kind of investment? It's the sound of a steel door closing. It's the sound of your brother crying in a courtroom. It's the silence on the other end of a phone when you call home and no one picks up anymore. Let me tell you about the silence. That's the real punishment. The sentence isn't the years, it's the quiet. For the first few years in here, I'd get letters. From my ex-wife Karen at first. Updates on the kids. Then just the kids. My daughter Lisa would send drawings. Then just birthday cards with her name signed at the bottom. Then nothing. The communication became rare, and then it stopped. That's what it says in my file, right? Family, limited contact. They make it sound like a fact. It's not a fact. It's a wound. It's a choice they made, a right one, because I was a poison in their lives. And I have to live with that. I think about my brothers, two of them. Ray was the youngest, the one at the bar. He wrote me for a while. He told me he got into a fight at his job, got fired. He said he was just standing his ground, like I taught him. That letter, I held it in my hands and I felt sick. I wrote back. I told him to stop, to walk away, to be smarter than me. I don't know if he listened. The letters stopped coming from him too. Maybe he figured it out. Maybe he's living a good life. I hope so. But I'll probably never know. That's the cost. You burn the bridges. And then you're stuck on an island watching the smoke fade. The hardest moment wasn't the judge. It wasn't the door. It was about 5 years in. I was in the library, and I found an old, discarded magazine, a home and garden thing. There was a picture of a backyard barbecue. A man was flipping burgers. Kids were running through a sprinkler. A woman was laughing, holding a plate. It was just a stupid, generic picture, but I stared at it. I stared at that man's hands. They were clean. They weren't scarred from mill burns or prison fights. They were just hands, holding a spatula. And I broke. Right there at the library table, I put my head down on that magazine and I cried. Quiet, so no one would see. I cried for the hands I used to have, that could have held my kids, that could have fixed a fence, that could have touched my wife's face without her flinching. I traded those hands for a weapon. I traded that backyard, that laughter, that simple, clean life, for a principle that wasn't even real. A principle that said a bump stool was a declaration of war. That's when I knew, really knew. I wasn't a tough guy. I was a fool. I was a scared, proud fool from Glen Park who thought the world only understood one language. I thought if I showed enough force, I could make the world make sense. I could make it respect me. But all I did was make it smaller and smaller, until the only world left was this one, 8 by 10, with bars on the door. You see, the anger, it wasn't strength. It was a confession. It was me confessing that I had nothing else, no other way to be, no other value. When they shut the mill down, piece by piece, what was I? A furnace operator with no furnace. A husband whose wife was halfway out the door. A father whose kids were learning to live without him. So what was left? The anger, the rules. They gave me a shape, a purpose. Handle disrespect. It was a job title for a man who'd lost his job, and I was so good at it. I followed the procedure perfectly. Address immediately. Never let a challenge stand. Show a long memory. I was a master craftsman of my own ruin. I think about Eddie Walsh sometimes. Not with anger, with a kind of pity for both of us. He wasn't some monster. He was just another guy from the neighborhood. Probably worked a shit job, had his own problems, his own pride. We were mirrors. He bumped my stool. I saw a challenge. He saw a threat. We fed each other's worst instincts until it exploded. He's out there somewhere. He has a life. I hope he learned something. I hope he got to have backyard barbecues. I don't blame him, not anymore. I made every choice. I drove to that diner. I tapped on that glass. That tap, that's the sound that echoes, not the gavel, the soft tap-tap on a car window. That was the moment. I had all the power. I had the fear in his eyes. I had won. And still I couldn't stop. I needed to drink it in deeper. That's the addiction. That's what they don't tell you. The feeling of dominance, of making someone afraid. It's a drug. And like any drug, you need more and more to feel it. A broken nose wasn't enough. A threat wasn't enough. I had to see the fear again. I had to own it completely. And when I reached for that last biggest hit, it destroyed me. So here I am, 67, 22 years down, 28 to go if I make it, which I probably won't. My body's tired. My family's gone. And for what? for a parking spot argument from months before, for a smirk, for the chance to feel like a king for 10 seconds in a bar parking lot. It's so stupid. It's so painfully, devastatingly stupid. And that's the lesson right there, in the stupidity, in the sheer wasteful, catastrophic cost of it all. The math doesn't lie. I traded everything for nothing. I traded everything for nothing. And that's the math you need to understand. Here's what I learned sitting in this cell for 22 years, watching my life drain away through a grate in the floor. I learned that my 5 old rules were a recipe for a life sentence, whether the state gives you one or not. I was building my own prison long before I got here. I thought strength was in the reaction. I was wrong. Strength is in the pause. It's in the space between the insult and your response. That space is where your freedom lives. I collapse that space every time. Eddie bumps my stool, and in that half second, I decided my whole identity was on the line. It wasn't. It was just a bump. My pride was so fragile, so paper thin, that any little thing could tear it. So I had to armor it with violence. But real dignity isn't fragile. It doesn't need armor. It can take a bump. It can take a smirk. It can absorb a stupid comment and let it dissolve, because it knows what it is. I didn't know what I was. I was just a collection of reactions waiting to happen. Look at my life, from Glen Park, from the mill. My parents worked hard. They taught me to stand up for myself, but I twisted that. I thought standing up meant never sitting down. It meant never backing up an inch. That's not standing up. That's being a statue. A statue can't move. It can't go home to its family. It just stands there until the weather wears it down. I wore myself down long before the state got involved. And my family. Karen, my ex-wife, Lisa, and the boys. I think about them every day. The file says, limited contact. That's a clean way of saying I broke their hearts so completely that the only way they could survive was to cut me out. I don't blame them. I was a storm in their house. Every time I'd come home angry from work or stewing over some slight, I was bringing the smell of that slag home with me. I was bringing the fight home. They didn't lose a husband and a father the day I got sentenced. They'd been losing me piece by piece for years, every time I chose a fight over them. The sentence just made it official. So here is my advice to you, from a man who has nothing left to lose but the lesson. This is what I should have done. Let the first one go. I mean, really let it go. Don't just store it away. Let it pass through you like bad weather. A bump, a look, a muttered word in traffic. That's not about you. That's about the pain the other person is carrying. I was carrying so much pain, from the mill shutting down, from my marriage failing, that when Eddie bumped me, I saw a target for all of it. Don't make that person your target. They're just a stranger having a bad day. Let it be. If it's persistent, if someone is coming at your family, your home, your actual livelihood, then you state your line. One time. You don't scream it. You don't get in their face. You say it calm and clear like you're stating a fact. That's my daughter you're talking about. Stop. Then you're done. You don't negotiate. You don't explain. You've drawn the boundary. If they cross it again, you don't escalate. You walk. You get authorities involved. You do anything but take it into your own hands. Because your hands are for building things, not breaking them. Your exit is your superpower. Walking away is the strongest move on the board. I thought it was surrender. It's not. It's a declaration that you have better places to be, better people to see, a better life to live. That diner parking lot. I had the wheel. I could have turned left. My home was empty, but it was still a home. I chose the fight instead. I walked toward the fire. Don't walk toward the fire. Your life is not a movie. There's no heroic music playing. There's just you, and the consequences, and the people who love you waiting at home wondering where you are. The anger is real. It has to go somewhere. So you take it somewhere private. You drive to the lake and you scream at the water. You go into your basement and you beat on a heavy bag until your arms ache. You write the vilest, angriest letter you can imagine, and then you burn it. You get it out where it can't touch anyone else. I touched everyone with my anger. I painted my family with it. I coated Eddie Walsh with it. And now I'm the one covered in it, sitting in this cell. Finally, invest your energy in what builds. Every minute I spent thinking about Eddie, about Marcus, about that parking spot, was a minute I stole from my kids. It was a minute I could have been teaching my son to throw a baseball. It was a minute I could have been asking my daughter about her school project. It was a minute I could have been listening to Karen, really listening, instead of just waiting for my turn to talk about my day. Pour your time into things that give you peace, not a pulse. A garden gives you peace. A finished project gives you peace. Your family gives you peace. A feud just gives you a faster heartbeat and a shorter fuse. You still have time. You're listening to this. You're free. You can pause this and go hug your kids. You can call your brother. You can decide right now that the next time someone cuts you off in traffic, you're just going to take a deep breath and let it go. You have that choice. I painted over all my choices with pride until there was nothing left but a single terrible path. This channel, from what I understand, lets people like me share what we've learned the hard way. If this story, my stupidity, my regret, means something to you, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe. Hit that notification bell. There are other people here who have lost things, who have learned things, and their stories might help you see your own life clearer. Leave a comment down below. Tell me, what's the thing you're holding on to right now that you know you should let go? Is it a grudge from work? A stupid argument with a neighbor? Getting disrespected by someone whose name you won't even remember in 5 years? Write it down. Acknowledging it is the first step to letting it be. Hit the like button if this resonated with you. If it made you think of someone, share it with them. Maybe it'll help them avoid a cliff I walked right off of. And if you have a story of your own, something you lost, something you learned, there's a way to share it. The people who run this channel have a form in the description. Fill it out. Maybe your lesson can keep someone else from a lifetime of regret. That's about the only good that can come from my mess, if it helps you. There's a book a chaplain gave me once called The Gifts of Imperfection. I'm not a big reader, but I read that one. It talks about how our weaknesses, our cracks, are where the light gets in. My cracks were where the darkness poured out and drowned everything. The link is probably down there if you want to check it out. Don't be like me. Don't let your pride write a check that your life can't cash. Your dignity isn't out there in the world, in what people say or do. It's in here, in your chest. It's in the quiet choice to walk away, to go home, to be with the people who matter. Protect that. Everything else is just noise. This is Leonard Booker. This is my confession. Make your next choice a better one.